The Donald gets arraigned. That's right. He leaves on a jet plane from Florida to go to New York to turn himself in. And, I mean, I can't wait to see what the mugshot looks like, to see if he's got that traditional little smirk, because, well, all this really works in his favor, and we'll see what happens with that and where it goes. But we will continue to watch that and see what's happening with that. In other news, Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes interviews Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the heads of our friends to the left absolutely explode. Because, of course, we should never, ever, ever let one of our political opponents have a place to speech, but we'll be talking about that, what's happening there, and where this goes from here. Asa Hutchinson makes his announcement for the 2024 presidential bid, which means Nikki Haley is screwed because most of the people that would vote for the warmonger don't want to vote for the warmonger with a vagina. So we'll be talking just about a bit about that and what's happening there. And Democrats who joined in protesters for the gun protest in Tennessee are now being stripped of their committee assignments. 3 of them are being talked about being expelled from the Congress. It is going to be all this and more. I was the one flying the balloon. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. I didn't even realize today that I wasn't wearing a print t-shirt. I'm wearing just a regular black one. I went out to, I had a meeting today, so it's looking like there may be some changes coming up in my life, but that'll be a good time. I don't really want to go into a lot of detail right now on what's going on with that right now, but it looks like there is going to be something, and it's, by the way, telling me that, oh no, it's not. I was going to say, I was looking at the monitor, and it looked like D-Live was trying to connect, but yeah, I guess it's still down. So, but we are still on YouTube. We are on Twitch. We are on Twitter somewhere. I have no idea where. It assures me that we're transmitting to Twitter, but it doesn't know where. We're on Facebook, on my fan page over there. And as of today, we're also on Odyssey. So I don't know if if that's going to bring up some place to do there. I don't think we're going to get any cross chat with Odyssey, but yes, we're on Odyssey right now as well. So I'll be watching that. I'll be looking over to that. Today, by the way, is also the day that we will be doing the live chat. So you guys got anything that you want to say, any piece that you want to let into, any comments that you have to say about the coming indictment, about anything else like that, go ahead and get those in. Do try to keep, if you want to get them read on the air, to an AM radio level of things, because, well, especially with what possibly has happened today, it does look like there may be a chance that we'll be going back to being the morning commute. I don't want to say too much about what's going on there, but we will be going over your live chats today. We'll be talking about what it is that you guys want to talk about at the end of the show, and I mean, we're going to try to get through as much as we can as well, but that's what we have going on for that. And we're going to get right down into the news. Before we do, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys. Go check out Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks podcast, and more as we bring you a better news experience from the common man for the common man. That is right, for too long We have had too much of our news coming from news outlets from people who wear suits that cost more than your house. You know, not a plain Jane Walmart black t-shirt, but a suit that costs more than your house. No more. Go check out news, culture, religion, music, and a host of other things with the great creators that I have suggested here for you as we come together. I'm working on getting a website built for these guys so we can give you a better news experience there. And with that, let's get down into the news of the day, and we are going to start with the Dow, as we always do. See some people piling in here, so that's pretty cool. I don't know if we just dropped off either, but yeah, everything looks like it reset over there as well, so that's what we see for that. And, well, let's get started. We're going to start with the Dow. The Dow today, I didn't even pay attention to what was happening on the markets today, for the most part. Usually I keep an eye on what's happening there, but today I had so many other things going on. A lot of the news that I'm looking at today, I'm hearing about for the first time when I sat down at 5:10 to start gathering stuff. But the Dow is at 33,601.15 after having a major update throughout the day. It spiked. It spiked up to above 33.6. It dropped back off, and then it's climbed steadily back to 33,601.15. So apparently the investors are seeing some good news on what it is that we have going on with that, and we'll see what's happening there. Luke Wee is here to bring us in to start with. Looking in at your Bitcoin, which is at 27,800 even. That is down $388 and 30 US cents on the day, or 1.38%. Which, I mean, it's a fair tumble, but it started off in the middle of the day. It did spike up and get above the 28.4 mark at one point throughout the day before dropping off, bottoming out to 27.4, and clawing itself back up to 27.8. Just a quick look over the weekend, bringing us back out to April 1st. It looks like we had some steady climb and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall before a major drop-off just at the end of Sunday and climb back up to where we are at today with the Bitcoin there. Looking at your gas prices around Madison, that is going to be one to watch too, by the way. I don't have it up on the top of the stack because of the finance aspect, and I should, but we've got so much to go over with the arraignment, so I'll be talking about that long since first. But these prices are tentative to rise in the near future, looking like, because we are seeing things like an OPEC cut that could bring oil up another $10 a barrel. So we'll continue to watch this and see what happens with this and see if the U.S. responds to that cut. But around the Madison area, we've got the Speedway is at 340. On the Isthmus, we've got 340, 326. The Quick Trip entering the Isthmus is at 326. We have a 330 in the Quick Trip on the east side and a 326 at another Quick Trip on the east side, which is telling me that we are getting some relief at the pump right now. It's not a huge amount of relief, but we're getting some relief off of this, so you may have a chance to go back out and top off at a lower price. Check your local listings for your local gas prices. This is a chart of something that we have been watching since we started Contemporary, and the gas prices were so low we didn't know what to do with them, but that's where we're at with that. Let's grab one from CNBC. The live updates. Stock futures are flat. Monday evening live updates from Tanaya McKeel. Stock futures were flat on Monday evening as investors wait a spike in oil prices that led the Dow higher to start the new trading month. Futures tied to the Dow were inched down by 30 points or 0.9%. The S&P slipped by 0.08% and the Nasdaq futures dipped by 0.14%. In regular trading, the Dow rose 327 points or 0.98% and the S&P added 0.37. Both posted a fourth straight day of gains. The Nasdaq Composite slid about 0.25%. Hey, look, we've got Arvold. Oh, that's what his real name is. Bolstein. Over on Odyssey. Thank you for that. Subbed on Odyssey. Yeah, we're going to start doing some more of that over here as well. So maybe get some more viewership. Maybe get a different audience in as well. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, there's not going to be any crosstalk between the two. But we've also got Rumble coming on in the week. Let's see. Energy stocks led the way after OPEC announced that it was slashing output by 1.16 million barrels of oil per day. On Monday, oil prices soared and West Texas Intermediate crude notched its biggest daily gain in nearly a year. The Energy Select Sector SPDR fund, which tracks the S&P 500 energy sector, popped more than 4%. And your loss is their gain, keep in mind. Given the transition the world is undergoing as it embraces clean and green energy, OPEC understands all too well that still highly valued liquid gold will at some point begin to lose its shine, said Quincy Crosby, a chief global strategist for LPL Financial. So, we will see what's happening with that, but, well, we've got one more on finance here, the layoffs report, which I did not archive, like a moron. Let's see if this is already archived. It was already archived, good. The layoffs report comes to us from the Daily Mail. McDonald's closes all of its U.S. offices and cancels in-person meetings this week as it prepares to lay off corporate staff after CEO warned difficult decisions will be made. But don't worry, everything is fine. We have a great economy, just ask Mr. Biden. From Hope Sloop. McDonald's has temporarily shut down all of its U.S. offices as it prepares to deliver layoff messages online to a number of their employees across the country. According to a new report from the Wall Street Journal, the layoffs, part of the company restructuring, will begin on Monday after the company told employees to work from home so it can fire their staff virtually. That's a company that cares right there. No, work from home. And we're going to cane your ass through email. We're not going to give you the chance to sit in front of us, jump over the desk, or anything. Nope. You're getting it by email, folks. Pretty sweet deal. During the week of April 3rd, we will communicate key decisions related to the roles of staffing levels across the organization, McDonald's officials said in a memo. The company said it made the decision to announce cuts virtually due to an anticipated busy travel week. No, that's not the reason they did that. It's unclear this time how many employees are set to be laid off. However, CEO Chris Kempczynski said in a January email there would be difficult discussions and decisions ahead. The new report from the Wall Street Journal said the Chicago-based chain told employees last week in an internal email on Wednesday. While the message was mostly to U.S. employees, some international corporate workers were also included. In the memo, company executives also advised that upcoming in-person meetings with vendors and other outside parties at headquarters will be canceled. The decision to have employees work remotely for part of the week is due to an anticipated busy travel week ahead, potentially connected to the Easter holiday. That's not the reason. That is not the reason. It's cute that you're trying to let us know that that's the reason, but that's not the reason. But another big round of layoffs coming. I could go for some McDonald's right now. It's one of those things. You get the weird craving. You think about it, and then you get the weird craving for it. And it's probably also because I went back to keto today, and I'm definitely craving some carbs right now, but that's where we are at for that. I've got one more piece on the layoffs report, the finance report. I know, I keep teasing you, saying we're going to go talk about the arraignment, but as long as we're talking finance, reminder that the Biden admin will tell you everything is fine, it's all great. Don't worry about it, the economy is great. Stop asking about the economy, you bigot. From the Daily Wire, small business bankruptcies reach worrisome levels as Biden touts rising business formation. From Ben Ziesloft, small businesses impacted by the current economic tumult are filing for bankruptcy at levels last witnessed at the outset of the lockdown-induced recession, even as President Brandon touts an uptick in new business ventures. Economic phenomena, such as inflationary pressures, as well as the rising interest rates caused by monetary tightening from the Federal Reserve, has produced an increase in the number of small and medium-sized businesses filing for bankruptcy. According to a note from an investment bank UBS obtained by Business Insider, fears of a credit crunch amid the failure of multiple banks worsened the rise of bankruptcies. The number of business closures surpassed the peak witnessed 3 years ago when governments implemented lockdown mandates. The total number of bankruptcy filings reached nearly 32,000 as of February 2023, an 18% rise from the 27,000 bankruptcy filings seen in February 2022. According to data from the American Bankruptcy Institute, Chapter 11, which are typically used by larger businesses because of the more complex nature, increased by 83% over the same period. Communications from the White House have nevertheless downplayed the present economic challenges and the burdens they create for small businesses. Biden has repeatedly cited the overall higher rates of new business formation over the past 3 years, as noted by data from the Census Bureau, without noting the phenomena which have simultaneously weighed on entrepreneurs. So, but this guy right here is going to keep telling you everything is fine. It's all fine. Don't worry, you'll have that job. No, that layoff report? Yeah, no. There's nothing to worry about here. All right. Now for what we've all been waiting for. He's leaving on a jet plane. CNN tweeting out to start off with. Just in, former President Trump departs West Palm Beach en route to New York City to turn himself in on 30-plus criminal charges.
Welcome back. You are watching the former president's plane take off, heading up in the air and heading back to his home state of New York. Certainly not the kind of homecoming that he had ever imagined when he went back from Florida to New York, but he is heading back on a historic flight. Again, not necessarily a part of history that Donald Trump or any former president would want to make, but nonetheless, that is exactly what he is doing and one that he is trying to make the most of, going back to face justice and to face a prosecutor who will formally unseal an indictment that has already been voted on and filed against him in the state of New York.
They don't know what to say. That's really weird, because usually they'll run their mouth off anything they can run a story on. But I mean, listeners, she has no idea what to say about this. As far as this, I'm actually waiting for tomorrow. It's not for the mugshot. It's not for anything like that. I want to see what's in the indictment. I want to see what's all there. I want to see what's misdemeanors, what's felonies, and what's been artificially inflated to be a felony. So we got a lot to talk about with this. And we are going to start with the other end of it from CNN. Watch Trump arrive in New York for his arraignment.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Let's just take a moment and watch. So there he is, Donald Trump.
There he is!
The first former president ever to have to come anywhere to face a day in court. I think what was notable right there, and we're going to probably see him several more times before he gives his speech tomorrow night, but we were actually talking before whether we would see the fist bump, whether we would see the thumbs up, and we didn't see any of that. And Sarah, forgive me, Sarah, I just want to go to you on that, because you've spent many, many hours, thousands of hours covering him since 2015. What does that tell you, that body language?
I mean, I think it was much more resigned than what we expect to see. Again, he has a lot of opportunities to appear defiant later today, tomorrow, when he makes, remarks tomorrow evening at Mar-a-Lago. But, it is sort of a pretty resigned march down the stairs into his car. No Trump hat. We're used to seeing sort of his campaign swag as well as the swagger, and that's not what we're seeing right now.
A lot has been made of what this means for Trump.
Yeah, nobody wants to listen to you, Jim Acosta. So CNN's trying to analyze that. Oh, he's resigned. He's defeated. He thinks this. Dude, this is probably going to be one of the best things for him. So let's talk about it. From CBS, Trump arrives in New York ahead of expected surrender and arraignment. From Carolyn Linton. Former President Trump arrived in New York on Monday, a day before he is set to surrender to authorities. Surrender to authorities! The orange jumpsuit is coming! He's going to be fingerprinted! By the way, I've heard a lot of conversation over this past week, wondering whether or not the fingerprinting is actually going to be something that the Secret Service will allow because of national security concerns. The questions on what would happen if one of America's enemies got their hands on one of those fingerprints. I don't know if he's going to get fingerprinted or not, honestly. Trump left his residence of Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach shortly after noon in a black SUV, and his personal plane landed at LaGuardia at roughly 3:30 p.m. From there, he is headed to Trump Tower in Midtown to spend the night. Many dozens upon dozens of U.S. Secret Service agents are being dispatched to protect the former president's every move. A law enforcement source told CBS News teams of agents were expected at the airport for his arrival on Monday and departure on Tuesday, as well as at Trump Tower, and with the motorcade for the ride to and from the courthouse. On Tuesday morning, I will be going to, believe it or not, the courthouse. America was not supposed to be this way, Trump wrote on Truth Social. He also called the Manhattan DA's investigation in all capitals because it's Truth Social, a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. A grand jury indicted the former president last week, although the charges remain under seal. A source familiar with the investigation told CBS on Saturday. The president will be charged with falsifying business records in the first degree of felony. Trump has denied all wrongdoing. Alvin Bragg has been investigating the alleged falsified business records connected to a $130,000 wire transfer to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Yes, we know about that. Trump has added a white-collar defense attorney, Todd Blanche, to his defense team. Two sources familiar with the matter confirmed to CBS's Robert Costa. Blanche's addition to the team was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. After he turns himself in, Trump will be in custody of the New York Police Department and the Secret Service. He's expected to be arraigned on Tuesday and will be processed like any other defendant, CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleinman said. That I don't know, actually. Republican Rep, by the way, this is what you should be paying attention to right here. Republican Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, one of Trump's closest allies in Congress, is planning to lead what she described as a peaceful protest in New York on Tuesday. That right there should be your indicator to be anywhere except New York on Tuesday. Fanning, you should, if you need to stay somewhere far, far away from New York, we'll find a place for you over here. Eric Adams said that there were no specific security threats, honk honk, but he had a warning for any rabble-rousers who are thinking about coming to our city tomorrow. Our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves, Adams said. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger. We are the safest large city in America. Holy crap. Are you serious? Eric Adams just said New York is the safest large city in America. And they expect me to believe that? Yeah, according to who? Silent Caster, I would probably say that there are 3 or 4 large cities closer to you that are probably safer than New York. God, I would rather be in Boston than New York, and that's saying something. Actually, Boston really, for a large city, isn't that bad. Crime-wise. I mean, you still got the concrete creep everywhere and everything, but... I mean, New York more closely represents, or resembles rather, what Bethesda made Boston look like for Fallout 4. Giant mutants with no brains everywhere. People who are glowing who lost their minds years ago. Every animal that wants to kill you is like 3 times its normal size. Yeah. The rats in New York that look like kittens. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a plant. Alright, anyway. Adams called out Taylor Greene, saying, "While you're in town, be on your best behavior," he said. "Anyone who's caught participating in any vandalism and violence will be arrested and held accountable, no matter who you are. Unless, of course, you have that certain badge with the eagle on it, and 3 letters. And by the way, that's the other thing. If you do plan on going to this thing, and for whatever reason, you should not. This isn't official to me. You should not go to this thing. And you see somebody with aviators and a fresh fade. Very, very fresh fade cut. Wearing clothes that are still have the wrinkles on them that they just got from Kohl's with bulges in the pockets. Get away from there as fast as you can. Sources told CBS News that 35,000 officers are on standby for the arraignment, including for possible protests. That does not include the total of people out there that just went out and bought MAGA hats today, which I estimate to be in the 1,000 range. So 36,000 officers are there. Alcazar said he believed that there will be several hundred police officers present at the courthouse in downtown Manhattan, again not counting the ones who will be in the crowd. So, that's what we have for CBS. Let's grab one from CNN, the live updates. The latest on Trump's historic indictment. Read a couple of these. Some photos. Trump arrives in New York a day before his expected arraignment. With the wave. The landing. A pro-Trump guy waving an American flag at Palm Beach. The motorcade. The former president poised to huddle with advisors at the tower. And then, yes, of course, evidence of how Trump will handle classified documents. Yeah, that's going to be the next thing, by the way. All right. From the Hill, Trump lawyer anticipates motion to dismiss charges in Manhattan indictment. That would be interesting. And by the way, if that happens, there are going to be protests out there, but they're not going to be the same kind that the police is probably preparing for. From Julia Mueller over the Hill. Attorney Joe Tacopina, who represents the former president, said on Sunday that he anticipates a motion to dismiss still not yet known charges in an indictment voted on by Manhattan grand jury last week in a hush money case. Tacopina said the legal team has yet to see the indictment, which remains under seal, but would dissect it to determine how to move forward. We will take the indictment, we will dissect it. The team will look very closely at every potential issue that we could have to challenge this, and we will challenge, and of course, I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming, because there's no law that fits this. Tacopina said on CNN State of the Union, which we can actually watch here.
We'll take the indictment, we will dissect it. The team will look at every potential issue.
I'm sorry, that's all the volume I can pump out of this.
And we will challenge it. And of course, I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming because there's no law that fits this. We'll take the indictment, we will dissect it. The team will look at every potential issue that we will be able to challenge, and we will challenge. And of course, I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming because there's no law that fits this. We'll take the indictment.
All right. Back to the Hill. Tacopina said he doesn't even know what really brings us here, and argued that DA Bragg has taken a misdemeanor and tried to cobble together to make it a felony. So, that's what they're saying for that. For Fox News, Trump hires new defense attorney on eve of New York City arraignment, which we talked about just a bit earlier. Let's go over some more of this here. From Brooks Singman. Former President Trump on Monday hired white-collar defense attorney Todd Blanche to be part of his legal team ahead of his Tuesday arraignment in New York City. Fox News Digital has learned. Blanche, a former partner at Cadwalader, Wickersham, and Taft, will serve as a defense attorney in the case brought against the former president by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. Blanche joins the Trump defense attorney Joe Tacopina and other lawyers working on the case for Trump. The source told Fox News Digital that Blanche will be additional firepower to the Trump legal team. Blanche previously represented Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman. Manafort was charged as part of former special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation in 2019 and pled guilty to foreign lobbying and witness tampering, as well as tax fraud and conspiracy. Trump's expected arraignment comes after the former president and leading Republican presidential candidate for 24 was indicted by a grand jury. So I don't know what this guy's credentials are, I guess, other than representing Manafort. But they say that he's one of the top for white-collar crime, so we'll see what happens with that. Let's grab another one from The Hill, talking about the judge. Who is Juan Merchan, the judge overseeing Trump's arraignment? From Brett Samuels. The former president is set to be arraigned on Tuesday at the Manhattan courthouse in what will be one of the most closely watched legal proceedings in legal memory. Here's what to know about the judge. Merchan has spent years working in the New York City court system. He worked as an assistant attorney general in charge in Nassau County and Suffolk County in the early 2000s and was appointed by then Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Hey, that's Ron Helton's favorite politician. I miss Ron Helton, by the way. In 2006 to be a judge in the Bronx Family Court. Since 2009, Merchan has been serving as acting justice on the state Supreme Court, presiding over felony criminal trials. The New York Times, a former newspaper, reported that Merchan is a first-generation immigrant who came to the U.S. with his family from Colombia. When he was a child growing up in Queens, the outlet noted previously worked as an auditor for a small real estate development company. Merchan has presided over other high-profile cases in New York City, one involving a man who tried to call in a witness described by prosecutors as a witch doctor to testify that he killed his girlfriend while under the influence of evil spirits, and another involving a woman accused of running a high-end prostitution ring that tabloids dubbed the Soccer Mom Madam. I don't know why I'm so turned on by that, but I suddenly am. Let's see. Merchan presided over Trump Organization proceedings. Perhaps the most notable case Merchan previously oversaw as it relates to the week's proceedings is the criminal tax fraud trial against the Trump Organization. Which tells me, yeah, this guy's probably completely objective. The company was fined $1.6 million after being convicted on 17 counts, including falsifying business records, after persecutors laid out a scheme in which the organization's top officials dodged income taxes on off-the-books perks. Which, by the way, was something that I said at the time. That sounds a little bit more like a, that sounds like a tax auditor problem. The fine was the only penalty Merchan could impose on the case, and $1.6 million was the maximum allowed by the law. Former Trump Organization Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg was sentenced to 5 months in jail as part of a plea agreement with the district attorney's office in the case. Trump has claimed Merchan is biased against him. Probably. The former president has in recent days repeatedly attacked the judge, citing Merchan's handling of the Trump Organization's proceedings. Trump has posted multiple times about Merchan on his Truth Social platform, referring to him in recent days as the Trump-hating judge and claiming, "Merchan hates me." Trump pointed to Merchan's involvement in the trial for the Trump Organization and claimed that Merchan was strong-armed. Weisselberg, the former CFO, reached his plea deal via negotiations between his lawyers and prosecutors, not the judge. Attacking a judge is not a new strategy for Trump, who previously lambasted the judge that oversaw the Manafort case, derided some jurists who ruled against him as Obama judges, and suggested a judge may be biased against him because of the Mexican heritage. It is possible Trump's legal team could ask for a change of judge, but his attorneys have downplayed any potential qualms ahead of Tuesday's arraignment. No, I don't believe the judge is biased. I mean, the president is entitled to his own opinion. Tacopina, the lawyer representing Trump in the hush money case, said Sunday on This Week. And what he's been through, quite frankly, I don't blame him for feeling the way he feels, Tacopina added. You're asking me my opinion. Do I think the judge is biased? Of course not. I think he might be just a little bit. How could I subscribe to that when I've had no interactions with this judge that would lead me to believe that he is biased? Well, we'll see. I don't know one way or the other. Randy Crush Saga is here. We got a bunch of people over here today. The Mogwai says Matt Gaetz will probably be there. Yeah, probably. From The Hill, a headline that needs no explanation. Donald Trump plans to turn his arraignment into a political spectacle. In other news, water is wet. From David Jackson. Donald Trump and his allies will begin a 2-day effort Monday to make a political spectacle out of an unprecedented legal event, the arraignment of a former president. Trump jetted from South Florida to New York City during the afternoon, starting a journey that will include his arraignment on Tuesday and a speech that night back in Florida. It is also expected to include political rhetoric as Trump and his aides plan to constantly condemn the indictment and promote his 2024 presidential candidacy during his travels to and from the courthouse. In other words, water is wet. Trump did not speak publicly Monday, but did spend time on his social media platform Truth attacking the indictment and seeking to raise money off of it. If you're doing poorly, and so many of you are, do not send anything. If you're doing well, which is made possible through the great policies of the Trump admin, send your contribution. Yeah, you know he's going to make a political spectacle out of it. I anticipate the mugshot, which I anticipate there's going to be merchandise of the mugshot, but I anticipate the mugshot is probably going to have that little Trump smirk on there. My grandpa used to make the same smirk. The exact same smirk, too. Excuse me. Trump, accompanied by a Secret Service detail as well as staff members, left his Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach and arrived at Trump Tower in Midtown late in the afternoon. Yeah, of course it's going to be a political spectacle. I mean, what Alvin Bragg is doing is a political spectacle, so why wouldn't he fight back with another political spectacle? It only makes sense. Daily Mail reporting, "This is beautiful for Trump. Manhattan indictment might be the best thing for the former president's fundraising as campaign sells t-shirts and donations roll in." From Rob Crilly. 2 hours after the news that Trump has been indicted in Manhattan grand jury, the fundraising email shots began blasting out. "Holding a shirt just for you," read the subject line of one message advertising a new t-shirt which was available to supporters for a minimum donation of $47. Okay, maybe I'm not going to get one. Maybe not. I can think of a lot better things to spend $47 on. "I stand with Trump," read slogan along with the date of 3/30/23. It was one of a slew of messages sent out to email addresses held on campaign database. Yeah, I got out of those, thankfully. The Mugshotties account. I love that account, by the way. I love that account, and I still get likes on that from people who are probably going back to try to go through the Mugshotties and see if they can find a potential wife. The girl who went down on her boyfriend and slashed him and let him bleeding in a hotel room. Actually, it wasn't her boyfriend, it was a Tinder date. And I saw the mugshot. I mean, she was cute too, but regardless, I had to put the comment down underneath one. So does that mean she's single? I still get feedback on that one. I can fix her. I say that about Jojo from Joy's. And who's the other one that I say that about? There's another one. A crazy one. Belsamino. I could probably fix Belsamino. The date, a day before the federal deadline for filing financial numbers for the first quarter of the year, gave the push an added urgency. John Fury said it would give Trump an immediate political lift. He is a Republican strategist, by the way. In the short term, it helps with fundraising, he told DailyMail.com. Once again, Trump dominates earned media from a political perspective. This is beautiful for Trump, and it's all about him. Even before Thursday, the threat of indictment had brought cash rolling in. The Trump campaign previously said it raised $2 million in grassroots donations. In the week, Trump announced that he was facing arrest in the hush money investigation. I wonder if they'll darken his mugshot like Time did with OJ. I think that he's going to go out and get some extra orange makeup and put it on for this. Donors and strategists said the indictment would hand Trump a lift with his base, encouraging small donors to chip into his campaign, while his main rival, Ron DeSantis, has lured away big donors. I'm going to skip the rest of this here because we're going to be looking at this in a different article, and then I can get to do more of my Lindsey Graham voice. Oh, look, it's the next one. From the Hill, Graham calls for Fox News viewers to donate to Trump. They're trying to bleed him dry, sugar. Not the way that I want to bleed him dry. Bleeding a man dry. From Jared Gons. Senator Lindsey Graham, a close ally of former President Trump, if that's what you want to call it. If that's what you want to call a person who only goes back and allies himself with a person when it's politically convenient. By the way, you're going to see a lot of these stupid-ass neocons start doing this too. Within the next probably week or so. The political wind has shifted, and it is going to become fashionable to be a Trump backer again. Not because they actually have any principles, just because that is the most lucrative position in the Republican Party right now. Yeah, Lapdog Lindsay. There you go. Graham said in an interview with Sean Hannity on Thursday, another person who's exactly like Lindsey Graham, by the way, I'm in support of whoever the most powerful Republican is, and I will berate anybody who that Republican stands against. That's Sean Hannity. The conservatives should be sure to vote for Trump and donate money to him amid his legal battles. But you need to help this man, Donald J. Trump. They're trying to drain him dry. Draining the man dry. I mean, he spent more money on lawyers than most people spend on campaigns. They're trying to bleed him dry. Graham said the indictment that the Manhattan grand jury issued against Trump related to the case investigating a hush money payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels is going to destroy America. The indictment remains sealed, but the grand jury has been investigating the $130,000 payment that former Trump attorney Michael Cohen paid Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election in exchange for her silence about an alleged affair that she had with Trump. Those who are listening tonight, if you believe that Donald Trump is being treated poorly, sugar, and wrongly, stand up and help the man. Pray for our country. Pray for him. Go to DonaldJTrump.com and give money so he can defend himself. Lindsey Graham, everybody. The numbers from Axios. Trump raises over $5 million since indictment news from Mike Allen. Former President Trump raised more than $5 million big ones since the news of his indictment broke late Thursday. Over $4 million in the first 24 hours and over $1 million in the second 24 hours, a Trump official told Axios on Saturday night. The donation gusher validates the view that most top Republicans that the expected indictment from Alvin Bragg, at least in the short term, will help Trump's effort to build a formidable lead for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. In announcing the initial $4 million haul, Trump's campaign noted that over 25% of the donations came from first-time donors to him. That figure wasn't available for Saturday's donations. Trump officials weren't sure the donation pump would last past the first day. This is someone who's run twice for president, Jason Miller, a Trump campaign senior advisor, told me. There's a whole new group of Trump supporters who are angered by what they see as political persecution. The campaign tells Axios that 16,000 plus volunteers signed up on his website in 24 hours. So, I mean, these are good numbers. I don't know if he'll be able to turn around and use any of this in campaign because of campaign finance and FEC laws, but I wonder what this will translate down to into the campaign. Let's talk about the gag order. From Newsweek, Trump gag order could land former president in jail. From Anna Skinner. Background music might have kicked up a bit too high. I can drop that a little bit if you want me to. Absolutely. I don't have a lot of room to drop it, but I can drop it some. Won't someone think of the billionaires? By the way, this is a new one for you guys. If you guys aren't seeing this yet, I am on Odyssey tonight. I put it in the Discord. I put it on Twitter. But yeah, I decided to get there. I'm going to go to Rumble too. Now that I finally figured out how to do it. Legal experts are speculating that a judge issued gag order barring Trump from discussing his trial in Manhattan hush money case or verbally attacking prosecutors could land the former president in jail before the trial begins. Yeah, there's no confirmation that this is even coming. The most accurate source that I've seen about anything with a gag order came from the Krasensteins. Trump became the first former or current U.S. President to face criminal charges after a Manhattan grand jury voted last week to indict him in connection with an alleged payment. We don't know that, by the way. Let's see. Trump, who entered, often takes to social media, such as Truth Social, his own platform, to air his grievances, could be barred from doing so if a judge issues a gag order. Dave Ehrenberg, a Palm Beach County, Florida state attorney, told Newsweek if the judge were to implement a gag order against Trump, it would likely take place during Tuesday's arraignment. Asked about the possibility of a gag order against Trump, a spokesperson for New York State's Supreme Court told Newsweek the indictment was a pending criminal matter and therefore a person did not wish to comment on a wild speculation and unsubstantiated claims. It's a real possibility, but again, take it with a grain of salt because the most accurate reporting that we have on that is from one of the Krasensteins. Ehrenberg said the gag order, which limits the defendant's ability to say certain things, could restrict Trump from discussing any aspect of the trial, or he could be hit with a partial gag order that restricts him from speaking about prosecutors or the judge. But Ehrenberg doubts Trump will be able to abide by the rules, especially ones that restrict him from verbally attacking prosecution. Some experts believe Trump has already shared too much about the charges on Truth Social, which could hurt him during the trial. Which I don't know how he could because they're sealed. He doesn't know what's in them yet. A gag order could be a blow to Trump's legal team as Trump has not shown an ability to muzzle himself, according to Ehrenberg. Former federal prosecutor Mike McAuliffe told Newsweek that Trump's inability to remain silent could extinguish any advantage his legal team might have with a gag order. If Trump abides by the order, it could keep him from possibly incriminating himself with his social media posts. So, that's what they're saying about it. Will Trump be muzzled? Judge faces critical gag order choice. From Brett Samuels and Zach Schoenfield. The judge presiding over former President Trump's case in New York faces a difficult and politically thorny early decision, whether to impose a gag order on Trump and others in the case. New York legal experts say those attacks raise the possibility on Tuesday of the judge issuing a gag order, which would be very politically motivated, by the way, an uncommon but not unprecedented move that would effectively prevent Trump or his attorneys from speaking publicly about the case outside the court filings and proceedings. The judge wants to keep the decorum of the courtroom, said Jeremy Saland, a New York criminal defense lawyer and former Manhattan ADA. The judge wants this tried in the four corners of the courtroom. That is bullshit. Let me finish this paragraph and I'll explain why. He continued, "This is not a public spectacle." That is also bullshit. This is a very important case in the sense that every eyeball in the nation is on it. Every ear in the nation is on this and beyond. So there's a lot riding on this. See, the problem is this can't be tried in the four corners of the courtroom. Number one, can you get an unbiased jury that doesn't know anything about this case or doesn't come in already having a preconceived notion of that he's guilty or innocent? I don't think you can in this political environment. I don't think that's possible. Number two, and this is more important, this is a public spectacle. This has been a public spectacle since Alvin Bragg came down and said, "I'm impaneling a grand jury to decide whether or not Donald Trump broke the law by paying Stormy Daniels off." This has been a public spectacle ever since that moment. Ever since that very first moment that he came out and said this has been a public spectacle. And this is going to be another one of those things where what happens in the trial is not going to be as important as being tried on social media. I don't want this to be a public spectacle. This is a public spectacle, and everybody knows it. So, that's what they're trying to say with this. And the reaction from Newsweek, Donald Trump gag order leaves Republicans outraged. Insanity! Holy shit, we're almost to 10, guys. Bring another friend in. We'll hit 10 viewers tonight. Bring 2, because one of those is me. Because the Twitch monitor counts me, actually, so. From Alex Phillips. Republican commentators have reacted in disgust to reports that a gagging order may be placed on Trump to prevent him from commenting on his indictment, describing it as insanity and despicable. Legal experts have said it's extremely likely that such an order will be placed on the former president once he's arraigned. Well, yeah, it's because the entire thing is a Banana Republic witch hunt. Trump is expected to surrender to law enforcement on Tuesday. Asked to comment on the talk of the gag order, a spokesperson for the New York Supreme Court told Newsweek the indictment was a pending criminal matter and so did not wish to comment on the wild speculation and unsubstantiated claims. The thing is this is like all the media outlets that are friendly to Alvin Bragg and the political party that Alvin Bragg belongs to will be out here making wild speculations and whipping up a frenzy into their viewership to get the entire country to feel a certain way about this trial. And I don't think there's decorum in that either, by the way. But the fact of the matter is with a gag order, they can go out and put whatever wild speculation they want onto this. Joyless Reed and Rachel Maddow can go out there and tell their audience whatever they want to think. And the Trump team has no way to go back and push back. This is politically motivated. 100%. Yeah. 80s Kid says, they're that desperate to get him locked up. Next they'll tell him if he farts too loud, he'll go to jail. Probably. Red-haired bobblehead weighing in on this from Fox News. Red-haired bobblehead calls on Democrats to put their heads down on Trump indictment. Stay out of it. From Hannah Panrek. Good luck. Former White House press secretary Red-haired bobblehead said Sunday that Democrats shouldn't celebrate or brag about the indictment of former President Trump during her show on Sunday. The MSDNC host encouraged Democrats to stay out of it and keep their heads down with regard to indictment news. She insisted it was not the time for a mass order of Lock Him Up t-shirts that are printing as we speak. Now is not the time for Democrat candidates to celebrate. to brag, to predict the outcome of a legal case. If you can, I'd actually just put your head down and stay out of it for now, and we can circle back to that later. She said the Biden White House wouldn't comment on the investigation because they have a long-standing policy on commenting on criminal investigations. Oh, bullshit! Bobblehead said it was good politics to avoid commenting in the indictment. I love, by the way, that red-haired Bobblehead says this. Meanwhile, the White House called Kyle Rittenhouse a criminal in the midst of his trial. And they weighed in on that trial. No, they're not going to comment on this because it's politically expedient for them not to, but it's not because they're not willing to. It's not because they have some long-standing policy about it. Alright, so that's the arraignment news. That's what we have for that. And by the way, if the speech comes on while we're on Contemporary, no matter what the news is, we're cutting to it. So those of you who are going to be here tomorrow, I am trusting some of you to come back out here and tell me when the speech is on, and we will cut to that instead. And we'll watch that. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene from the Daily Wire. 60 Minutes host interviews Marjorie Taylor Greene, and liberals can't stand it. No, that they cannot. From Virginia Krita. 60 Minutes host Leslie Stahl spoke with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a plant in the interview. It aired during Sunday's broadcast, and liberals immediately attacked both Stahl and CBS. Georgia Republican Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, nicknamed MTG, isn't afraid to share her opinions, no matter how intense and in-your-face they are. She sits down with Leslie Stahl this Sunday on 60 Minutes, the show's preview tweet read. Liberals quickly criticized Stahl for interviewing Greene on CBS for daring to allow such an interview to air. Laura Hellmuth says some of the most important decisions you make as an editor are about who and what not to cover. Others, Bruce Borgine says, wasteful of our time, journalism malpractice, this should have been an April Fool, but sadly it's not. Serious treatment of this individual by 60 Minutes is not providing informative, insightful news or analysis, but rather a platform for hate to build on. Bruce Bourgeois complained. Producer Jonathan Goldman called Taylor Greene a domestic terrorist, tweeting, "Shame on 60 Minutes for normalizing the hateful bile that MRG spews. She's anti-Semitic. QAnon conspiracy peddling bigot who conspired to overturn a presidential election with white nationalists. MTG is not a politician. She's a domestic terrorist, and Leslie Stahl is amplifying her." Coming up after the break, she spread conspiracy theories and lies about the 2020 election, 9/11, and the Parkland shooting. She's racist and anti-Semitic. She's expressed support for executing Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama, and she makes an excellent blueberry muffin. I've actually heard the last part is actually true, by the way, from sources familiar with the matter. Mama Mia 1217 says, "What the actual fuck? Why? Just why? 60 Minutes and Leslie Stahl have soiled their credibility. Why would you lend legitimacy to a white supremacist terrorist who sought to overturn a fair election?" Mama Mia 1217 tweeted before admitting, "I certainly won't be watching. Will you?" I mean, I didn't watch it because I don't have cable. I don't really care that much about CBS. I probably will watch this at some point. Maybe tonight. Although I've got dinner plans after the show, but I might go sit down and either listen to this or watch this and see what actually was said, because really, honestly, the only clip that we have is this 31-second clip that exploded the internet. Benny Johnson tweets out, 60 Minutes asked MTG why she calls Democrats groomers. Her 10-second answer leaves reporters gasping.
And things she says that are over the top, like,
The Democrats are a party of pedophiles. I would definitely say so. They support grooming children.
They are not pedophiles. Why would you say that?
Democrats support, even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
Wow. Okay. And things.
I mean, where's the lie? Oh, the Sox are playing. The New York Post reports liberal writers blast Leslie Stahl after bizarre Marjorie Taylor Greene interview on 60 Minutes. From David Proper. You know what the worst part is most of them have no idea what's in the interview. Now, on a controversial interview with somebody in politics that I can't stand, like all of them, if it's really, really controversial, I will still sit and find the interview and watch it in its entirety. I don't go on clips. The Biden ones I've all watched. I've watched the Trump interviews. I've watched Nancy Pelosi's full interviews before. Especially, again, the really, really controversial ones. Because the clips that get shared around are heavily sanitized and ready for consumption for people with a narrative. But let's read from the New York Post. Outspoken GOP Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene doubled down on calling Democrats pedophiles, blasted establishment Republicans, and demanded that U.S. stop the flow of aid money to Ukraine in a wide-ranging and fiery 60 Minutes interview on Sunday. And by the way, again, this is another thing that we're not going to see. Even if I sit down and watch the full interview, one thing we're not going to see is the raw interview. It was something that was first brought up with Biden, actually, and his inability to complete a sentence. Because it was pointed out that that was a very, very heavily edited interview. I tried the last time Biden was on 60 Minutes to find the raw cut, and I couldn't find it. Greene, also known as MTG, made numerous controversial comments during her sit-down with veteran reporter Leslie Stahl, and was promptly panned by many across social media. One of the more shocking moments, the Georgia lawmaker responded, "I would definitely say so," when Stahl pressed her on a previous comment that she's made about Democrats being the party of pedophiles. "They support grooming children," Taylor Greene, 48, said without providing evidence. The little buzzword that the mainstream media, and even if the left doesn't like the New York Post anymore, the little barb that the mainstream media puts in, and the New York Post is still mainstream media, to say, this is a bad person and she's saying a bad thing. Democrats support, even Joe Biden, the president himself, supporting children being sexualized and having them their transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children. The Republican also took a shot at her own party, knocking a number of GOP lawmakers for not carrying out President Trump's priorities when he was in office. I really need to see that part of the interview because I don't buy that for a second. They failed us, Greene said, specifically naming former House Speaker Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, and Mitt Romney. When asked why none of the blame falls on Trump, she said, "Well, the president doesn't control everything." She also reiterated her opposition to funding weapons and financial aid for Ukraine to help Kiev win its war against Russia's brutal invasion. "What I have voted against is funding a war in the Ukraine. The entire time I have been saying the U.S. needs to be pushing for peace in Ukraine, not funding a proxy war with Russia." The interview conducted by Stahl was criticized by numerous political observers, including many liberals, for letting Taylor Greene off easy. Stahl interviewed Greene as if she were just one unusual member of Congress with some out-there ideas. The Atlantic writer Tom Nichols tweeted, showed MTG some of her worst stuff, and MTG just waved it away and still let it all slide. Victor Shi, an activist and speaker, called the interview truly terrible. Don't get me wrong, I respect Lesley Stahl, but that interview she just did with Marjorie Taylor Greene was truly terrible. She, who was delegate for President Biden in 2020, tweeted, "Little to no pushback. She let MTG get away with lie after lie." Well, fact check it. Although, by the way, I would like to point out that Victor Shi assured us up and down for the last 3 days that he wasn't going to watch the interview. From Fox News, Marjorie Taylor Greene's 60 Minutes appearance sets off media debate if they interview Charles Manson. From Hannah Panrek. Lesley Stahl's interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene touched off a fierce media debate on Monday as some figures called the interview garbage while others defended it and pointed out more controversial figures have interviewed in the past. During MSDNC's Morning Joe, the panel defended Stahl in an interview with a Republican lawmaker that aired on CBS, which is surprising. Scarborough said in 60 Minutes, interviewed Charles Manson, and that if it interviewed him, a congresswoman was hardly a bridge too far. 60 Minutes has interviewed one terrible person after another terrible person, and if they interviewed Charles Manson, you can interview a member of Congress. If you want to watch, you can watch and actually understand some of the craziness that's infected the Republican Party. And that may just be good to understand what American democracy is up against. He had to get that little barb in there. A former Me Too recipient and now wife, co-host Mika Brzezinski, said that she took issue with a lot of the criticism on Stahl on Twitter and said she doesn't understand what she did wrong. I think it's important. This is what they do at 60 Minutes. They bring, a person like this or a foreign leader. They go into situations where they ask the questions, show their viewers what they're dealing with. And I think she did an exceptional job as usual. We do need to cover these people. We need to show all sides of the story. I don't understand what she did wrong. Well, she humanized Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's what she did wrong. Semaphor's Ben Smith told CNN Monday that he couldn't fault 60 Minutes for interviewing Greene because they'd interviewed rapists and hitmen in the past. Later in the discussion, Caitlin Collins followed up a statement and asked, "Just to be clear, we're not putting her in that group." And from MSDNC, one of the few times you'll see this outlet on this program, Marjorie Taylor Greene hasn't changed. Wait, is this the Joe and Mika segment about this? I think so. I'm kind of curious. Let's listen to this. I hate that I'm about to say this, but let's listen to this for a little bit. I'm sorry. We'll do something fun later. I'll read some more spicy live chats later to make up for what I'm about to do to you. I apologize. But let's listen. Where's the volume?
Interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's going about as well for Lesley Stahl on Twitter as you would expect. 60 Minutes, other news outlets have long interviewed people with whom editorially they severely disagree. I'm reading
and world leaders.
World leaders who hold horrific views. Norm Warnstein wrote, "I've known Lesley Stahl for more than 40 years, worked alongside her for many election weeks. She has been a great journalist, but this is a disgraceful, cringeworthy performance, shameful for her." John Harwood, "I respect Lesley Stahl in 60 Minutes, but airing this is garbage." I could go down the list. So I ask this again, knowing Lesley, liking Lesley, respecting her. She's an extraordinary journalist, and she has been for a long time. I'm just curious. What are your thoughts about
putting her on 60 Minutes.
putting Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes. And by the way, this is not a leading question. I think this is an important debate to have. If you have a woman who's considered the second most important person in the House of Representatives because Kevin McCarthy has made her that, she's a person that helped Kevin McCarthy become Speaker, then I'm sure 60 Minutes and Leslie Stahl are thinking, well, if she's that powerful, Americans need to know what she thinks. On the other side, you have a lot of people saying she should have never been given that platform. What are your thoughts?
Well, I did not see the interview, Joe. I have enormous respect for Leslie, who I've known for many, many years. I would be in favor of having her on, Marjorie Taylor Greene, to hear her, to have people listen to what she's saying, to listen to how deeply sick she is, what a distorted view of America she has, what a distorted view of who we are that she has. I would want people to have that information so that they could make a judgment on her. The larger issue, I would think, and this is going to be for historians, is our obsession, our media obsession with people like this, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people like Donald Trump. And our obsession with him is decades old, and look where it's brought us. But still, the bottom line is I want that information out there and available to the public so they can listen to it, so they can measure it. Some people are going to say, oh yeah, she's great. I think a large number of people, the majority of people, are going to listen to what she says and say she's mentally ill and deeply dangerous.
He brings up a good point when he talks about this, and it's the same thing. There are people that are saying that Joe Biden shouldn't be allowed on TV, and most of them are coming from his own party. But sunlight really is the best disinfectant. When AOC Biscuit comes out and screams stupidity, or poses for a selfie with Chaya Raichik before she knows it's Chaya Raichik, or any number of stupid things that Ilhan Omar has said. No, give these people a megaphone. Let them say whatever stupid thing comes to their mind at the moment it comes to their mind, and let the American people see that. It is the best disinfectant. All right. And the last one on that, we'll get into some presidential news. Marjorie Taylor Greene's 60 Minutes interview went just like you'd expect from Newsweek's Gerard Kaunga. Marjorie Taylor Greene's 60 Minutes interview proved to be as explosive as some anticipated, with many of the conversation's highlights sparking debate in social media. While speaking to journalist Leslie Stahl, Greene addressed her reputation as a divisive politician. During the interview, she appeared to live up to the reputation, with more comments that could be deemed as incendiary. As part of the interview introduction, Stahl noted that Greene has quickly become a powerful representative by landing on important committees while remaining a controversial figure in politics. Stahl asked Greene if she stood by an alleged previous statement that Democrats are a party of pedophiles. That seems to be the only thing that people are focusing on. Stahl also challenged Greene on the idea that the U.S. must become a more Christian nation. You have a Christian government, outlaw abortion, defund the FBI, and have immigration stopped for 4 years. When Stahl raised the point that the U.S. Constitution prevents having a religion in the government, Greene replied, "Yet the Founding Fathers quoted the Bible constantly and were driven by their faith." One of the most notable moments during the interview saw Greene deny that she had ever suggested that the 2018 Parkland shooting, which saw 17 people murdered, was a false flag shooting. Okay, and I believe that the people died, and I still think it was a false flag. When quizzed whether she had the view, Greene said, "Do you actually have my position? No, I never said that. School shootings are horrible, and I don't think that's anything to joke about." 60 Minutes then showed an image of Greene replying to a Facebook comment about the shooting. The comment said, "It's called a payoff to keep his mouth shut since it was a false flag planned shooting." Greene replied, "Exactly." Look, two things can be at once. Two things can be true at once. A bunch of people can die and still not be what we were presented. Yes, I know what you prefer to say, Quest Fanning. Alright, so that's the Marjorie Taylor Greene interview. I'm probably going to check that out a little bit later. Let's go through some of the other things that we have on the stack for the day. Our friends over at NPR bring us our presidential news today. Former governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, says that he is running for president. From NPR's Washington desk with no author given, but even without an author given, somebody needs to get paid for this article, so make sure you hit that donate button because the taxpayer subsidies are not enough and so many people got laid off. And NPR needs to have its full staff to tell you that communism is great and republicanism is evil and anybody to the right of Mao is evil. So hit that donate button. Tell NPR what you feel about progressivism because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. NPR is never printing reality. National Progressive Radio. Let's see what it is they have to say. Asa Hutchinson announced his bid for the Republican presidential nomination, saying he believes the people want leaders that appeal to the best of America. Okay, well then drop out of the race. That's a simple solution right there. Not simply appeal to our worst instincts. His remarks, which came Sunday on ABC's This Week, put Hutchinson in a small Republican field that includes the former president and noted war pig Nikki Haley. Others include Ron DeSantis, who is not announced yet, Hutchinson, I just can't say those words about Asa Hutchinson. I'm sorry. I can't do that one. Hutchinson, an old-style Republican that loves the rich and loves to bomb the shit out of the Middle East. That's more like it. Told ABC that a formal announcement will be made later this month in Bentonville, Arkansas. The announcement came days after the former Arkansas governor spent days in Iowa, which will hold the first presidential caucus, leading to speculation he would announce his intention to run. The announcement comes just 2 days before Trump is expected to surrender to authorities in New York, following his indictment by a Manhattan grand jury over hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels to cover up an alleged affair. Because no matter what, they've got to make it all about Trump. This is an article literally about Asa Hutchinson. And it's got to be, oh, he's running against evil orange man who is getting indicted for paying off a porn star. Well, Nikki Haley just got screwed, and not in the fun way. Not in the way that she does when she gets close to John McCain, or got close to John McCain when he was still alive. Because the majority of people in the old-style Republican Party that would vote for a war pig would rather not do so for a war pig with a vagina. Although I do anticipate this is going to split out the vote a little bit at some point. One from CNBC on it. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced his 2024 presidential bid, says Trump should drop out of the race. From Ashley Caput. Yeah, well, sorry, dude. The Democrats are still not going to come over and vote for you. Asa Hutchinson is running for the 2024 Republican nomination, he announced on Sunday. I hear people talk about the leadership of this country, and I'm convinced that people want leaders that appeal to the best of America, and not simply appeal to our worst instincts, he told ABC's This Week. Let's see. Another one that went straight to Trump. Hutchinson says he thinks the indictment is cause for Trump to drop out of the race. Trump's indictment marked a sad day for America, Hutchinson said, but it's also a great distraction. He said it's important to maintain the integrity of public office, so Trump should concentrate on his due process. I do believe if we're looking at the presidency, at the future of our country, then we don't need that distraction, and he needs to be able to concentrate on the legal issues that he faces. Yeah, Avenatti was presented as a viable foil to Trump. Yeah, he's still in jail. Some bad news for Biden coming to us from Newsweek. Marianne Williamson, Crystal Grandma, making gains against Joe Biden, new poll suggests. From Jason Lamont. Marianne Williamson may be making gains against President Biden ahead of the 2024 election, a new poll suggests. Williamson, an author and political activist, and Crystal Koch formally announced her presidential campaign at the beginning of March, making her the only officially declared Democrat seeking the party's 2024 nomination. Widely viewed as a long shot, the initial March poll showed Williamson with low single-digit support against Biden. Notably, the progressive political activist previously sought the Democratic nomination in 2020. Along with more than 20 others, but dropped out before the Iowa caucuses. She did, however, gain notable national visibility and has remained a prominent figure within progressive political circles. After nearly a month of campaigning, a new poll by Echelon Insights showed Williamson backed by a double-digit percentage of likely Democrat primary voters. The survey, which was conducted from March 27th to 29th, showed the long-shot contender with 10% of the likely Democratic vote, saying that they'd probably or definitely back her compared to 73% who supported Biden. The margin of error was plus or minus 3.8%. She's coming for you, Joe. She's coming. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't know where he is. Let's talk about Tennessee when we start to plan how we're going to finish out the rest of the day. From News Channel 5 out of Nashville. Notable Crystal Koch. You guys like that one. I like that. I'll be wrapping up here in just a bit. And going over and looking at the live chat. Motions filed to expel 3 House Democrats. From Emily West. Expulsion motions may have been taken against 3 House Democrats on Monday. After a moment on the House floor that was an interruption last week, some House Democrats now face inactive ID badges to get back into the legislature and their names no longer assigned to committees. News Channel 5 confirmed with Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton that he had Rep. Justin Jones, Rep. Gloria Johnson, no longer assigned to any House committees. Justin Pearson of Memphis was just seated and has no committee. Additionally, the trio had their ID badges to get into the legislature turned off. No damage was done to the Tennessee Capitol, nor were there any arrests made the day that Jones, Pearson, and Johnson led the crowd from the House floor in the middle of the session with chants. Rep. Jones had a bullhorn. On that day, hundreds arrived at the Capitol to try to talk to lawmakers about gun legislation. Yeah, that's what you're calling it? That's not what that was. That was an insurrection. About gun legislation in the light of the Covenant School shooting. In the mass shooting, 6 people, including 3 9-year-olds, died at the hands of a 28-year-old Nashvilleian, who we're conveniently not going to identify. Police said the shooter had several journalists planning to shoot the school and had been planning the attack for several months. On the day in question, those Democrats stopped after they were admonished by members of their own party, and later, the Speaker of the House. After a 30-minute recess, Rep. Jones and Rep. Pearson were not formally reprimanded. On the floor on Thursday, Johnson simply stood with the 2. It's not clear if the 3 could face harsher punishment, like expulsion from the legislature. The only member expelled from the House since the Civil War was Jeremy Durham, of Franklin during the 2016 during a special called session that September. Durham was expelled after AG report found he had harassed 22 women during his time on the Hill and he'd amassed campaign finance blunders. So, and by the way, I was told that getting involved in an insurrection had consequences. You know, what did we hear? What do we still hear, by the way, about Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert? Well, they should be expelled from their committee assignments. They're traitors. They shouldn't have any committee assignments. Well, you literally, by the way, led a group of protesters into the Capitol building. Doesn't that mean you shouldn't have committee assignments? Arvold came over from the Odyssey side. Thank you, Arvold. Yeah, as I announced at the top of the show, but now that we've got a mass of people here, I did start to Odyssey this week because I figured out actually how to make it work. It's tricky. It's not just change the title on Restream and hit the stream button. There's actually some effort that needs to go into it. But I will also be adding Rumble to the mix as well. And of course, you can always go over and check me out on Instagram, JEdgar101. I'm sorry, JEdgar102 on Instagram, or on Twitch if you want to see me get paid. I always appreciate that, by the way. If you want to throw your free sub over on Twitch, the one that you get with Amazon Prime, which I think most of you have, always appreciate that. Or your own money, that's appreciated too. But one thing with Odyssey and Rumble is that they've got ways to get paid directly in right away, and with DLive not working, I'm definitely looking for more of that. Rumble is a bit of a pain because they make a new RTMP every single time. That's why I couldn't get it to connect before, because I didn't know that. The R-rated conservative was the one that pointed that out to me, so... Alright, we'll skip over this one, because it's the review of this one. But more Nashville news. Jersey, my wife's son, Reliant. Wow, Nashville, Tennessee students are out in force, marching to demand that Republican legislators pass meaningful gun reform. Well, they're not going to, but go ahead and march. How many of those are from out of state, by the way? That's a legitimate question. CHRON. Cron. Out of Houston, Texas, after Nashville, Congress confronts limits of new gun law. From Mary Claire Jelonik, Colleen Long, and Lindsay Whitehurst. Nine months ago, President Brandon signed a sweeping bipartisan gun law, the most significant legislative response to gun violence in decades. Honk honk. Lives will be saved, he said at the White House. The law has already prevented some potentially dangerous people from owning guns, yet since that signing last summer, the tally of mass shootings in the U.S. has only grown. 5 dead at a nightclub in Colorado, 11 killed at the dance hall in California. And just this past week, 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults were shot and killed at an elementary school in Nashville. A day after that school shooting, Biden's tone was markedly less optimistic than it was in the signing ceremony. What in God's name are we doing? He asked in a speech on Thursday, calling for a ban on so-called assault weapons like those that were used to kill at the Covenant School in Nashville. There's a moral price to pay for inaction. Biden and others had hailed last year's bipartisan gun bill approved at the weeks after the shooting of 19 children and 2 adults at a school in Uvalde, Texas, as a new way forward. Several months in, the laws had some success, stepped up FBI background checks and blocked gun sales for 119 buyers under the age of 21. Persecutions have increased for unlicensed gun sellers, and new gun trafficking penalties have been charged in at least 30 cases around the country. Millions of new dollars have flowed into the mental health services for children in schools. But the persistence of mass shootings in the U.S. highlights the limits of congressional action. Because the law was a political compromise, it did not address many Democratic priorities for gun control, including universal background checks or the ban on assault weapons, for which Biden has repeatedly called. Something that needs to be brought up. Semper Bear. What does he go by on Twitter now? I don't even know. It's at Slaughtering It. Semper Reloaded. Over on Twitter. At Slaughtering It. Who, by the way, thinks that Freckles from the Freckles and Brit show is objectively beautiful. Remind him of that if you go over and follow him, which I do urge you to do, by the way. He's a good man. He really is. But he had pointed out the other day, these mass shootings, the ones that get publicized anyway, they keep happening with a long-range implement, a long-range rifle. Now, most of these things happen in very close quarters, in a hallway, in a classroom, etc. And I've done like the walkthrough, the obstacle course, the shooting course before, and I've done it with a rifle. I've never served, but I've set up stuff in the backyard and on land before. I've done it with a rifle and I've done it with a handgun, and I am far and away, especially if I'm going through both in the dark, but even in the light, and in an obstacle course, I am far and away more accurate in close quarters with a handgun. But even there, I mean, something burst fire, something drum mag. They always pick these rifles that are geared and designed with a scope for long range. But it also happens to be the scary rifle that our friends in Congress want to get rid of. So thank you Semper, for that, for pointing that out. Now, in the wake of the Nashville shooting, Congress appears to have returned to a familiar impasse. One of the top Republican negotiators in the gun law, John Cornyn, says the new compromise is unlikely, and the House, the new GOP majority, favors fewer restrictions on guns, not more. Asked Thursday about a way ahead, House Speaker McCarthy said legislation alone cannot solve the gun violence problem. He said Americans need to think deeply about mental illness and other factors that drive people to act. In contrast, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York said Congress should act with fiery urgency now. Our classrooms have become killing fields. Is that acceptable in America? They really haven't. There aren't that many school shootings. There really aren't. In fact, the majority of mass shootings that we get happen with handguns or automatic weapons that aren't legal in places where guns themselves are mostly not legal and involve gangs. And one last one on Audrey Hale. And then we are going to have to pop off here for the rest of the night because I have dinner plans. From the Daily Wire, Nashville Christian school shooter planned massacre months in advance, considered previous mass murderers. Police. I don't care what I'm allowed to talk about. I'm still going to talk about it. From Zach Jewell. The Metro Nashville Police Department provided an update Monday on its ongoing investigation into the mass shooting at a Christian elementary school 1 week ago, revealing that the shooter planned the massacre months in advance. Last Monday, a 20-year-old trans man, shot her way into the Covenant School in Nashville before she murdered 3 staff members and 3 9-year-old children, authorities said in a press release that, from all the information currently available, the shooter had acted totally alone and revealed that she had planned the massacre at the Covenant School months over a period of months. Metro Nashville Police Department said it's continuing to review the collective writings found in the mass murderer's vehicle and bedroom. The shooter, a former student at the Covenant School, documented plans in journals, which revealed her considerations and timeline for the attack at the school. Authorities added that the shooter was influenced by the actions of previous mass shooters, but said that they still have not established a motive. Let's see. Let me point out again. Trans, so most likely a heavily Democratic voter. Progressive. With high-powered assault rifle and high magazine capacity carbine. Goes into a school, shoots his/her way into a school dressed up as a man, wearing a blood red hat with white writing on the front or back because she had it backwards. No, I can't imagine what the motive was. The motive for the shooter's actions have not been established and remains under investigation by the Homicide Unit in consultation with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. It is known the shooter considered the actions of other mass murderers. Metro Nashville Police Department said. Last week, the police revealed that the shooter, a female who recently identified as a male, was receiving care for an emotional disorder. A source close to the family told the Daily Beast that the shooter was also autistic but high-functioning. The shooter legally purchased 7 firearms from gun stores around the Nashville area. Police said last week she carried 2 rifles and 1 handgun when she breached the Covenant School. Investigators found that from the time the shooter entered the school until she was killed by police, she fired a total of 152 rounds, 126 .556 rounds, and 26 9mm rounds. Within minutes, the shooter was located by a team of Metro Nashville Police Department officers on the 2nd floor of the school before she was killed by officers Rex Engelbert and Michael Colazzo. 14 minutes after the first 911 call was made, Engelbert dropped the shooter, firing 4 .556 rifle rounds at her before Colazzo unloaded another 4 rounds from his 9mm pistol. Yeah, this was for show. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. 152 rounds and 6 kills basically tells me that this was the equivalent of coming out and saying, look how much firepower and how fast these things can shoot. So, everything about this screams setup. And yes, the kids actually died. I'm not going to come out and say that this was a false flag and nobody died off of this. The kids died, but everything about this screams that this was a setup by somebody who was intent on pushing another gun control agenda. And I'm going to call it on the news for the day, but the last thing that we do on our Monday now, for now, is we looking at what the live chat says. So we've got one other outlet to go check on before we head out of here today. So you'll see how some of this is made here, because we've got Ruben Boldstein, who was subbed on Odyssey. Thank you for that. The rest of you guys go check out Odyssey, for an alternative platform for there, which, by the way, they do pay out in library coin. And I get paid per view, by the way, for this too, and so go over there and check that out. And the replays are available over there as well. I don't know if it'll be the replay of this or it'll be a replay coming back from YouTube. But do go check that out. over there. And on our other side here, let's park this back over here. Let's grab the live chat for today. Backing up to the beginning. As slow as live chat has been, I'm not going to go through the names for the week yet. If we go back to the old schedule, which is about a 50-50 shot at happening, I'll go back to start doing that again because we got a lot more people in the morning, I can tell you that. But for today, Luke Wee is here. Quest Fanning says, "What's up, my neighbors?" Thank you, Quest Fanning. Silent Caster is here. Says, "Raymond is kind of boring anyway." That was a lot of interesting stuff about that one. 80s Kid, welcoming us from across the pond. I hope, by the way, that 80s Kid sees my new t-shirt, because it's either going to be him or Blippity Blop that I need to show where that place is. And if you know, you know. And it's on both on the Discord and the Twitter. If you guys want to go see my new t-shirt. I wore it on Friday, too. I was so happy about that. My t-shirt is about an obscure line in a Warren Zevon song from the 1970s. It's for Lee Ho Fook's Chinese food. Come and get a big old dish of our beef chow mein. Fairly excited for that. Uh, 80s Kid says, "The elites don't predict the future, they invent it and force you to comply." That's right. Silent Caster says, "I maintain my original stance on social media, including Truth Social." That's your choice. That is probably one of the best ways for me to advertise, though, so I'm going to keep mine around. Politicians should be prohibited from having or using social media, period. That I don't agree with, actually. I'm going to push back on you a little bit, Silent Caster, because I don't agree with that at all, because I don't need the news media to come back out and sanitize the politician's message before I hear it. I want to hear it from that person, directly. Uh, 80s Kid says, "Biden Fetterman 2024, and it's a no-brainer." I see what you did there. I have Fetterman news on the stack, but we can't get to it today, unfortunately. The Mogwai says, "Marjorie Taylor Greene is a very wise and peaceful lady." Honk honk. Silent Caster can't afford to go to New York City. I think there's probably a place where Silent Caster can stay in New York City, if he needed to. I bet you that could be arranged. The Mogwai says, "Matt Gaetz will be there, I bet." 80s Kid says, "I want Trump to throw a gang sign in his mugshot. Cool as fuck, he'd sell 1 million copies on everyone's wall and make bumper stickers as well." Silent Caster says, "How many protesters are they expecting in New York City tomorrow? Did it even say?" I don't know how many they're expecting. I know it's probably going to be 10% cop. Randy Crush Saga is here. Took a woman for ice cream about a little bit ago. Don't see it working out. Yeah, I had one of those for dinner a couple weeks ago on a Sunday. Yeah, we got that one. The guy who runs Mugshotties on Twitter should put Trump's mugshot up as a joke. Chris says, "I wonder if they'll darken his mugshots like they did with OJ." Lapdog Lindsay. Randy says, "One of those tabloids came out and said that he had a running deal to squash stories before they were printed. Sounded more like blackmail, but it shows that he had a clear pattern of doing this when he wasn't conducting a campaign. Boom, just ended that case." Won't somebody think of the billionaires? If we save just one billionaire, it'll be worth it. I love this song, by the way. No, this isn't the one I was thinking of. I do like this one, though, too. I was thinking of a different one. Leaving the Body from Chrono Cross, redone by DJ Cutman. Background music, yeah, I took care of that already. The Mogwai says, "Linda Graham keeps getting voted in," and I don't understand why, but then the same seat was occupied by Strom Thurmond, who was 200 years old by the time he retired. '80s Kid says they're that desperate to get him locked up that they'll tell him if he farts too loud, he'll go to jail. And the Mogwai says, "MTG is the reason aliens don't visit us." No, I think it's plant-based mashed potatoes. That meme is in the Discord, by the way. Even aliens don't like government plants, says Randy. Randy says he didn't need to watch it to know it was full of lies. Quest Fanning says false flag. I prefer to say false. Yeah, I know what you prefer to say. She's still a plant? Yeah, she's still a plant. Remember when Avenatti was presented as a viable foil to Trump? Pepperidge Farm remembers. And he's in jail himself, that's correct. Quest says Asa rhymes with a-hole. You guys like the Crystal Kook comment. She's a Crystal Kook. But still less crazy than Biden. Arvolt is over here pitching the Odyssey. Thank you for that. Yeah, every little bit helps. What happened to Jose Cuervo from New York? I am not going to do the Mulvaney stuff. I didn't have time today, but I might. It's not that interesting to me. He's out seeking attention. He's out seeking Republican commentators talking about him. Yeah, DLive is having problems. I can't get it to end the stream, so I can go start a new one. Go ahead in March and April, and maybe not. Quest says, how often have we heard the existing reasonable checks in place didn't work because they were not enforced? That's true. What's the point of granting them more of their desired laws? Yeah. Enforce the ones you have before. But of course, the big publicized mass shootings are always somebody who went out and got their guns legally within the letter of every law that was out there, so. They're not respecting our pronouns. Are the rest of us allowed to call a woman identifying as a man as to trans identifying woman and then use female pronouns? Only if that person creates commits an atrocity in a school. Because they need to separate him / her / z / her / them / they / I don't know. I can't think of any more on the fly. They need to separate that person from the left-wing movement. Quest Fanning asks, BAU, like Criminal Minds. Actually, let me jump in there because I don't know what that is. I've never seen Criminal Minds. I've seen a little bit of it, but I know that my ex-girlfriend liked to watch it. And that's part of the reason it's never really been interesting to me. Oh, Behavioral Analysis Unit. Is that a thing? I don't know. Let's park this over here so it's not against my phone. Which, by the way, I got a lot of viewers over on the Instagram side too, but I think they're mostly bots. Because I got a botting raid earlier. Quest says, Audrey was a gun control martyr. I think so, honestly. And I think that the kid in Uvalde was too. And I really honestly think that that little bastard in Parkland was. Cruz. Randy says, I'm less reliably here in the evenings. Yeah, I get it. I knew it was going to be hard because I'm also competing with a lot of different programs in the evening, whereas I was pretty much running unopposed in the morning. Styx started streaming in the morning, our time, and that was really legitimately the only competition I had. Styx and Austin Peterson. Quest says mornings mostly solo time, evenings and weekends tend to be family time. I tend to watch news like Contemporary in solo time. I'm not going to tell you what I do in solo time. Quest says, you can stay in my place in Central Brooklyn with my Prospect Parts. Food, etc. I got room, Silentcaster. So there you go. Silentcaster can go protest too. And that is going to be it for today. Good crowd tonight. Yeah, watch for the other platforms as well. And, you know, again, there may be a time change. We don't have anything set in stone yet. I'll text you on my way to dinner, Quest, and tell you what's happening, at least. I'm not going to tell everybody yet until there's something to tell, but I'll tell you, Quest. I'll do that. Otherwise, let's throw some outro music up and let's head out of here. All right, so thank you everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat, filled up the live chat today. We had almost 10 people pop on today, so that was pretty cool. A bunch of new viewers, a bunch of people who've been here before, but haven't stuck around as often. We'll be back here tomorrow with more news, more headlines. We'll probably be talking about the arraignment. And remember, by the way, for those of you who are watching tomorrow, if they go to Trump's speech, we're going to cut to that. That's going to be more discussable and more important than what's going on in the news and the speculation, I think. So we will cut to that if that starts while we're on air. So be here for that. Be in here to have the conversation. And we may not do rules of acquisition tomorrow if the speech is still going as well. So come back in and join me here tomorrow for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until tomorrow, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.